Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Hey, it's time to get it back on, and welcome back to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are you all doing, everybody? I hope you all had a wonderful weekend, and you all had a wonderful weekend. I know that mine has been pretty crazy so far, and well, the big reason is because, well, starting tomorrow, I'm actually going on vacation, so I've been busy packing things up, making sure that everything I have is all ready to go because my plane is going to be early in the morning, so I gotta wake up stupidly early in order to make it there. And with that said, by the way, there will be no episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast next week. So they will only resume in 2 weeks. Specifically, let me just check my calendar. It will be on April 10th when AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast is going to be coming back. Obviously, like I just said, I'll be on vacation. I'm going to be away, so I just want to let you know now, considering that's my current update. It's just making sure I am fully packed, that I am fully ready to go onto my vacation. And another thing that I would like to go and talk about is something in regards to an update to a current event that I had, which you may remember on Thursday. I actually had a special charity stream in which I brought back AniMat Plays, or at least temporarily brought it back, so that I would go and play Cuphead and that I would raise money for the Gamers for Giving charity event organized by Gamers Outreach. And I would say that there are, in some ways, there have been a lot of fails, but also a lot of wins at the same time. In terms of how I played Cuphead, well, oh boy, don't underestimate its difficulty because it really was a hard game where I pretty much streamed the whole thing for 3 hours. And I ended up beating, I think, 3 to 4 levels, and that's it. And then, like, by the second run and gun, I pretty much rage quit at that point. And I think I died in over 100 times. So, yeah, it was not easy to go through. Even just for, like, the first levels, it was ridiculous. But, with that said, though, even though playing Cuphead was a bit of a fail on my part, I will say the charity aspect was a massive win. We ended up raising over $1,000. Now, keep in mind, my initial goal was at the very minimum $500, but the fact that we made it to 1,000 is unbelievable. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who has participated in watching the charity event, or especially donating to help contribute to Gamers for Giving. Especially a special shout out to Jay Monty, who really went up and above and did a lot of the heavy lifting of just donating again and again and again and again. It was amazing. It really was thanks to him, or thanks to them, that we made it to the $1,000 goal. So this definitely was a great highlight for this year, both for myself and for my community and for all of you. So once again, I want to thank you all for making the charity event such a massive success, and my first charity event that I've been organizing myself, or at least with a bit of the help of Gamers Outreach. So you really did help and make this a huge success. All right, so anyways, with the stories that we have this week, one thing I want to let you all know is that this is going to be a bit shorter than usual in terms of the episodes, considering that, yeah, I have to go on vacation and there's a lot of things I have to go and prepare. So in this episode, we only have 4 stories to go and talk about instead of the usual 5. So I just want to let you all know on that. But still, though, what we have for you today, or the stories that I have for you today, they are absolutely wild. We will definitely go into a lot of controversies, and we will definitely have a whole lot to go and talk about. So, with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Castle? Let me hear it, folks. Are you ready now? Okay, yep. I see people are all prepared. So, are we ready? Yes? All right, I think that's the signal that everyone is prepared, everyone is all set, and now we shall go and get things started. And to go and begin, we're going to go and have a little bit of a break. I just want to go and have a clean slate, or at least restart the ad counter, so that we would go and begin our story by taking a look at what's going to be the next generation of one of the biggest animes of all time. All right, so now that we are back, we are going to go and start things off by talking about Pokemon. Now, as you probably have heard, the ultimate conclusion to Ash's adventures has finally arrived in Japan, in which the final episode of Pokemon that would feature Ash Ketchum and Pikachu has premiered in Japan, and probably coming soon it will arrive in North America, or at least the English dub of it. And I have seen all across social media in which they stated that it definitely was the end of a generation, that the kid who wanted to be the very best like no one ever was finally achieved his goal, and now has officially set off to, I guess you could say, his retirement per se, and that his arc is finally no more, and that, well, he finally got a happy ending. And for many people, it was very bittersweet, especially with the fact that it's been like, what, 26 to 27 years that the same 10-year-old tried to go and pursue to become the Pokemon master. And now that the moment has finally arrived, well, the big question is, well, what's next? What can we do now that the Pokemon anime won't be starring Ash Ketchum and Pikachu? Well, with a goodbye comes with a brand new hello, and a brand new beginning has begun, in which this is one that has already been revealed before, but recently we have gotten a brand new look and our first ever trailer of what's going to be the next full-on generation of the Pokemon anime, or the new saga, if you will. I don't know if we could call it generation or saga and stuff like that, because I know that if we just say generation, well, Pokemon has a whole bunch of that, and like we recently just got the 9th generation. But anyways, you know what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and start things off by taking a look at the first trailer of the upcoming Pokemon series, Pokémon Horizons. So let's go begin by taking a look at this. And that is Pokémon Horizons, the series, to which the first episode, or the grand premiere of the new Pokemon series with the brand new characters, is going to be released sometime in 2023. We don't necessarily have a confirmed or specific release date as of yet, but so far, this is what it looks like, and this is what we know about this. And one thing that I do have to state after watching all of this, like, there's a lot of, like, one thing that I was pretty surprised about is the fact that, well, this is very much just a teaser. We don't necessarily have a whole lot of information. At the most, what we have gathered from this is that maybe we got like a little taste of what the plot is going to be, and especially the animation, which may I say right now, the animation, like, it definitely looks very solid. It definitely looks clean. And I could see how it could be quite action-packed once we really get into the Pokemon battles. I mean, we did get like a little bit of a taste of it, like with the trainer with Roiland. Let me just go back a bit. Like, you got that little moment that happened. Like, you got the mysterious guy like starting his battle like right over here. Like, you got this moment that I will say looks pretty cool, and then like yeah, you got the main character with her Sprigatito just jumping off the roof of a building. So, like, it does look like it's going to promise us the same kind of action that we have been getting with Ash and the Gang for several years or even a few decades, I could pretty much say right now. But one thing that I do know when it comes to this new series, and one thing that I don't think we've really have gotten with this, is regarding the characters. And I think that's going to be the biggest selling point with Pokemon Horizons, because one of the biggest draws of like the Pokemon anime series is to go and follow the adventures of Ash and Pikachu while getting updates in terms of the many other characters that Ash would go and encounter. A lot of the recurring characters, even, especially with Team Rocket, or sometimes Misty and Brock would pop in, or catching up with Professor Oak. Yeah, and like, I know like a lot of the professors and a lot of Ash's teammates can switch from time to time, but really a significant part of it is to see the characters, because yeah, like, it's a guarantee that you're going to get a lot of Pokemon battles in there. You're going to encounter a lot of the Pokemon that you would normally find in the games, but now we're seeing them in a brand new way in the anime. Like, we see a lot of them having their own personalities and stuff like that. Like, that is a given, but it really is going to be the characters that are going to be so important. That like like, it's not just like, oh, these are the new characters for the new series. No, this is going to be the new characters that we are going to be following for years to come. Like, even after Pokemon Horizons, it's still going to be characters like Liko and Roy that, you know, we need to be attached to them, that we need to enjoy their personalities so that we can go and continue these new Pokemon animes. That it really depends on their personalities and their charisma and their likability in order to ensure that we can get on board with this new anime series. And apparently the Pokemon social media account has been revealing to us that there is going to be a whole bunch of new characters that we are going to meet, that we are going to be introduced to, you know, not just Liko and Roy, but also a whole cast of others, including this one captain guy. Like, if you need to go and fly around in different areas, whether it be in Paldea or Galar or anything like that, then you would call that guy. And especially, like, considering that it is a Pokemon anime, or that it is a Pokemon thing in general, you need a Pikachu. Or wait, no, wait, you cannot see it. Like, my camera screen is kind of like blocking it, but yeah, here he is. Pikachu cannot get away from a Pokemon anime or a Pokemon thing in general. If it has Pokemon in the title, then you need to have a Pikachu. And in this case here, this is not going to be the same Pikachu like Ash's Pikachu. This is a new character that a lot of people are already pointing out, that this is Captain Pikachu. Oh, and on a side note, I just noticed on the chat wall, someone did mention that apparently this new anime is actually going to be coming very soon, or at least in Japan, where it is going to be premiering on April 14th. But back to what I was talking about, yeah, like, now we got a new now we got a new Pikachu where, let's just say, in terms of his personality, while he may not talk, he's going to stick a lot closer to Detective Pikachu, where he's gonna have a lot more of an attitude. I mean, technically with Ash's Pikachu, yeah, he does have attitude, but this one, oh yeah, he's gonna be like full of it. Like, his attitude is gonna be much bigger than his own physical body even. Or at least that's kind of the presence or the impression that I am getting from this Pikachu. But I'm sure he'll still be enjoyable. He'll still be fun. And not to mention, like, we do have like a cast of like many other characters that they are presenting as well, that we are going to meet along the entire adventure. So again, it really does depend on them that people will get on board this new series, because I'm not saying that the entire franchise is depend on it, but at least in terms of the legacy of the anime, it's now on their shoulders to go and carry the next generations of Pokemon, or at least how they are going to be adapted onto the anime. And I mean, I know story might also be important in terms of how they are going to adapt things. And it looks like they got a pretty unique one that's going on right over here, where we are going to be focusing specifically on this pendant that Liko has been given, that apparently it has these special powers, and that we're going to learn more about how that connects with our main character over here. Like, what does she have to do with the pendant, and what kind of special powers that it has, especially when it seems to be promising that it could go and summon some amazing things, including a shiny Rayquaza. And not only that, but one that looks like has got like some special powers, or the new gimmick of Scarlet and Violet, which is Terra Raids. And I don't know about you, but hopefully we'll see the shiny Rayquaza soon in the game, because I don't remember seeing this guy in Scarlet and Violet, and I have been playing it for quite a while now. But also I will say that like, while that narrative is going on, one thing that I do hope from this anime is that they will be carrying the tradition of the previous animes, where they are going to adapt a lot of story elements from the games, and they will bring it onto the narrative of the animes. Because I just gotta say, the plot of Scarlet and Violet is surprisingly amazing. Like, it is it's like, so like, probably some of the best story, you know, some of the best story elements that you would find in a Pokemon game. Like, I love this story, and I love the characters in that game as much as I did in or like probably even more than how I felt with Pokemon X and Y. And like, Pokemon X and Y, like, at least in my opinion, has a pretty solid story going on, and like it really did get me engaged. So hopefully we will get those elements, like those characters, like with Team Star, or like with the Mastibiff that's like slowly getting better with every sandwich he would get, or even like with the gym battles, meeting all the gym leaders. Hopefully we will still go and get that in Pokemon Horizons. Now, one more thing I do have to say, if there's one thing that I really love from this trailer that we got here, is the orchestration, the score that's going on, which is a more orchestral version of the Terra Ray battles in Scarlet and Violet. Now, the music is also another really awesome thing in the games, and hearing the orchestral version in here, it's like, it is beautiful. Like, it really did feel like they're elevating something that was already great to begin with. So that's another thing that's like really cool, and I think they're really going to nail in Pokemon Horizons. I'm sure the music is also going to be something that's going to be highly immersive as well, and might be a bit of a level up to the already awesome soundtrack that we have gotten in Scarlet and Violet. So overall, though, I will say that even though in Pokemon Horizons, or like this trailer in particular, we may not have gotten a whole lot, but I must say that it is intriguing. Like, it has gotten a bit of my attention, but it needs to do a whole lot more in order to prove to me that this is going to be the new era of Pokemon, that they can recreate that magic that they have built up for years with Ash and Pikachu and the rest of the gang, that this can carry once again carry the legacy of the Pokemon anime. In fact, I did hear apparently with the new character Liko and her first Pokemon Sprigatito, they're going to go through a bit of a similar arc where the Sprigatito is going to be very stubborn, but slowly but surely Liko and Sprigatito are going to go and form a bond. But you know, we will see. We will see how things will go with this. But I gotta say, this is not a bad trailer. This is not a bad first impression that Pokemon Horizons is giving us. And if you are interested in checking out the anime, well, I don't know when it's going to be coming out elsewhere in the world, but at least in Japan, it is going to be released on April 14th. And with that said, let us go into the chat wall. And now I want to ask you all, how do you feel about Pokemon Horizons? What is your impression? What did you think about this little trailer that we have received. Are you hyped up to go and check out this new series? Are you doubtful that it could stand out compared to the previous anime with Ash Ketchum? Let me know what you all think on this. All right, let's see. This trailer didn't show a whole lot, but from what I did see, it looks promising. The leads are pretty likable. I love the trailer score, and the animation, and particularly with the battles, looks sick. I'll see if I can find a way to check it out. This comment felt a little short. Do you guys want to sing Ram Ranch? I have enough. It has nothing to do with Pokemon, but I still need to fill some character space. Oh boy, how do you survive on social media? Like I can imagine you go on Facebook and it's like, oh, 4,000 characters. How the fridge am I going to fill all that up? Let's see. Wait, hold on. What are the lyrics to the theme song of Monsters Inc? Here, I'll go and put that up. I'm just fooling around, dude. All right, but anyways, let's see what we have here. Honestly, I would love to see this Pokemon anime entry, but I've lost track on the series since Johto. Don't know if there's a summarized version of different main Pokemon series anywhere. I don't mind if it's either on YouTube or any major website. Also, I understand people who are not in the Pokemania who say that the franchise has been rinsed in milk over the last few years now. Quick thoughts about that last post? I mean, I don't know. I'm going to confess, I've been out of the anime for a while. I think ever since, I would say not necessarily in the middle, but probably around the second half of the Ruby and Sapphire era, like with Ash, Brock, May, and Max. I think I stopped at that point from watching any more of the anime. So honestly, I can't fully confirm if that is the case, if the quality of the anime has just gotten worse and worse. But I will say, like, I have seen a bit of like a popularity that has like gone up a bit with the 7th generation and with the 8th generation, like with the Galar region. So I honestly, I cannot really comment, but I'm just not sure about like in terms of the anime. For me, I'm much more of a fan of the video game, so I just want to let you all know on that. Let's see what we got here. Personally, I'm not really a major fan of Pokemon, but this new series could have potential. The new characters could have potential and could definitely do a good job carrying the legacy of Ash, and the Pokemon battles could be great as always, so overall this could have potential. Also, I absolutely love Captain Pikachu, is absolutely precious and so adorable. Oh yeah, well, I mean, like, again, you gotta find a way to put Pikachu somewhere, and considering that we got this new Pikachu with attitude and with a captain hat, oh yeah, I'm sure, like, this is going to be a show stealer for sure. Let's see. What other comments do we have here? In every ending, there is a new beginning, and while we haven't been shown much, this looks like a worthy successor to the original anime. Both the animation and the character designs look pretty great, the focus on the mystery seems rather promising, and of course, it has my favorite Gen 9 starter, Weed Cat. Ah, yes, that's Sprigatito. And it's kind of funny because Sprigatito is technically going to be the new Pikachu in this. It's going to be the main character's first and probably main Pokemon of them all. Now, the only question is, I wonder if they are going to evolve some of these Pokemon, because it does happen from time to time when there are some Pokemon in Ash's collection that do end up evolving, and of course, after they evolve, they stay that way. So it does make me wonder if we are going to see some Pokemon that look like are going to be some of the main ones, like Lico's Sprigatito. Is that one going to evolve? Or even Roy's Fuecoco, are we going to see that Pokemon evolve as well? Who knows? The only answer will be is just to wait and see with what this one shall deliver. Let's see, what else do we have here? Is it me or that I always have a crush on Sarah Natocini? Sarah Natocini. Wait, what? She's such a great Ash in the recent Pokemon series, but I haven't watched much for a while now. And I want to see the final generation, and I do hope that it is semi-decent. All right. And surprisingly, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of other comments. So I guess we could go and just cap this story off right over here. So again, if you are interested in how things are going with Pokemon Horizons, then keep in mind that the premiere of the anime is going to be on April 14th in Japan. And when is it going to be released elsewhere? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But with that said and done, we're going to go and have a little bit of a break, and we shall go into our next story when we return, when we will be talking about a horror movie that this year people don't really want to talk about it, but you probably recall that it once had a lot of hype. But recently, though, something weird happened to it. And we are back. Now, for our next story, we are going to be talking about one of the most talked about horror movies from last year, or at least the one that really got hyped up, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Now, I think it is safe to say that this year, ever since it did first come out in theaters, well, not many people really want to go and talk about it. And I cannot express my opinion on it because I have yet to watch it, but from what I have heard from other people who did see it, apparently Blood and Honey was pretty bad. And it's not even in the so bad it's good kind of way. No, it's like so bad it's bad. And it's kind of funny where like how like you look back in 2022 and it was so hyped up, like people were just freaking out over the movie's existence, that they were going crazy over the idea, and that they really were anticipating to see Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. In a way, it actually reminded me of what happened in the last decade with Escape from Tomorrow, where everybody was freaked out about the concept about a horror movie or some suspense thriller that was actually filmed at Walt Disney World, but not with Disney's permission, and it had everybody talking. But then, when the feature was actually released, nobody went and talked about it ever again, other than the fact that it was a massive piece of crap. And yeah, Escape from Tomorrow did turn out to be quite an embarrassment there. And so far, it looks like Blood and Honey may have a bit of that same fate. Like, it is the next generation of Escape from Tomorrow. However, even though I cannot express my opinion on it because, well, I couldn't see it, I think the same can be said for the people in Hong Kong, because now looks like they cannot watch it, like, ever. So what ended up happening was that Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey was supposed to be released in Hong Kong, but then they decided to go and pull it out of theaters 2 days before its premiere. The reason? Well, it looks like nobody knows. They just decided to go and pull it out without any explanation, and it's just like, it just happened. Like, that's the thing. All we know is just that it happened, but we don't necessarily know why. Now, of course, a lot of speculations would go and be expressed as to the specific reasons to the mysterious removal. And one culprit is mainly because of the imagery of Winnie the Pooh in China, and how a lot of it is said to be banned because of how people who oppose the Chinese government use the iconography of Winnie the Pooh to go and make resemblances to the Chinese president Xi Jinping. And as a result of that, the Chinese government would go and completely ban and completely remove any images that are related to Winnie the Pooh, considering that a lot of people would go and use that as anti-Jinping propaganda. In fact, that is actually the reason why the 2018 Christopher Robin movie was never released in China. So some people are saying that it could be that could actually be the reason. Other explanations as to why, some people are saying it's actually because the movie may be a little bit too violent for Chinese viewers, so that's why they have to go and completely take it out. In fact, to go a little bit more into detail, I'm just going to go and read from my source on Variety, where they did have a bit more of an explanation, and that we would get some responses from the people who did pull it out of theaters. It is stated over here, the film was to be distributed in Hong Kong by indie outfit Seven Pillars and was scheduled for release on Thursday. On Tuesday evening, the company announced that it was canceling the release. It is with great regret to announce the scheduled release of Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey in Hong Kong and Macau on March 23rd has been canceled. We are sorry for the disappointment and inconvenience. They also added, Hong Kong as of Friday had 30 plus cinemas booked to show Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. They even did one screening. It went past censorship, said Frank Waterfield in an email to Variety. Then suddenly, over the last few days, something had happened which has resulted in multiple cinema chains simultaneously having to remove the showing from their cinemas, which is, which is nothing to do with the film's quality. So basically what they are saying is that it's not because of the movie itself why they couldn't go and actually show it. They're not necessarily blaming the quality itself. They're pretty much speculating right now that maybe it's the violence or maybe it's because of the politics. And a lot more people are leaning into the possibility that it is politics. Now, before I continue, I just want to go and make a statement, because I know at some point some people are saying, wait a minute, why is this happening in Hong Kong? Yes, it is technically in China, but Hong Kong is technically its own separate independent state. You know, it's kind of like its own country in a way, especially with how that it has democracy, that, you know, it doesn't follow the same rules as the rest of the Chinese government. So what gives on that? Well, unfortunately, in recent years, there has been a lot of bad news in terms of Hong Kong, where the Chinese ruling, or at least the ruling of the Chinese government, had been slowly seeping in onto Hong Kong in order to deteriorate its democracy and to make Hong Kong really not that much different compared to the rest of the China, to go and implement some of its own rules. And that's why we are seeing stuff like this, in which they would go and have a lot of censorship happening, including the removal of Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. So that's like the most basic way to go and explain it. It's the fact that Hong Kong is slowly but surely turning into something that is no different than the rest of China. It's becoming less independent, and it's becoming more a part of the ruling of Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party. So yeah, I think it's like, I just want to go and say right now that obviously all of this is pretty much allegations. We don't necessarily have any confirmations as to why specifically that they would go and immediately do this. And also, one thing that is important to note as well is that trying to get a movie released in China is stated to be something that's extremely rare. Like, you cannot just go and, like, you know, you can't just go and distribute all your feature films and expect that, okay, maybe China will accept it. Maybe they will be happy to go and grab it. No, those are often very, very rare. And some people may say that China may be the forbidden gold of movies, considering that they have become more and more of a prominent market where a lot of the box office actually does come from China. In fact, when you see in the international box office and they would make a significant amount of money, it's most likely because they made it to the Chinese market and the Chinese people would go and immediately consume the crap out of it. It can undeniably happen. That's how a lot of major movie franchises are made, like Transformers, Fast and Furious, Despicable Me. Like, they're, you know, they are massively famous thanks to China. And that's why, like, their movies would go and rank up like over $1 billion. So yeah, there could be a lot of reasons as to why specifically that this little incident occur. But in my opinion, at least from my observation, I feel like Yeah, I think it's most likely because of the political reasons and because of Xi Jinping's personal feelings in regards to Winnie the Pooh and the fact that the Chinese rebellion would go and use Winnie the Pooh as an iconography for them to represent Xi Jinping. And when you do look at Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, or specifically who's supposed to be Winnie the Pooh with that mask over here, yeah, like of course, like it's meant to go and represent that Winnie the Pooh. Like this isn't necessary, you know, it's not necessarily any random Winnie the Pooh out there. Like it is purposely made to look like Disney's Winnie the Pooh. So with that connection, it definitely does feel highly likely that yeah, they just banned it because it looks a little too familiar to Xi Jinping. And not to mention that technically this is a movie in which Winnie the Pooh and technically Piglet too goes on a massive murdering spree. So imagine when you have a movie starring a character who is infamously known to look like is infamously known to have a similar resemblance to the Chinese president going on a crazy killing spree, then yeah, I don't think the country would actually be happy to go and show that. The fact that there was even one screening that happened in China is quite a miracle in itself. And even though technically when it comes to this feature in particular, yeah, like its fate of not being aired in China, it's not really that different compared to many other features out there. Like, for example, Disney's Strange World didn't really have a screening because one of the characters was gay, or or even Spider-Man No Way Home was not shown in China because there was the iconography of the Statue of Liberty. You know, there are all those different examples out there that makes Blood and Honey not really that different compared to many of the other features, but it's just the coincidence, the connection between Winnie the Pooh and its infamous relationship with China, to which that's why a lot of people would go and have their attention be grabbed to this, that a lot of people would jump in and say that, oh, would you look at that? Here's another example of China's hatred for Winnie the Pooh, that they would keep on censoring more Winnie the Pooh stuff. But I just need to say this now. Like, the whole thing with Winnie the Pooh and China is actually very fascinating. Like the more you look into it, the more strange that it actually is. Because technically, yeah, like there are some bans of the imagery of Winnie the Pooh because of how people use that as their representation of Xi Jinping. But there are places in which you can actually find Winnie the Pooh in China, like no problem whatsoever. And that is specifically the Disney parks, like in Hong Kong Disneyland and in Shanghai Disneyland. I like recently with this news, I was curious to go and check out like how they would go and address the Winnie the Pooh situation. And apparently it seems to be okay. It seems to be fine. Like you can actually meet up with the Winnie the Pooh characters, no problem whatsoever. Like Pooh, Tigger, Eeyore, Piglet, they're still prominent in the parades and you can have pictures with them, which I guess you could say that it is the closest thing you can ever have to an actual photograph with Xi Jinping. But not only that, in both theme parks, there is a version of the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh that you can find. And not only that, but in Shanghai Disneyland, there is actually a second Winnie the Pooh ride, which is, well, technically it's a Winnie the Pooh themed spinning teacups or spinning honey pot theme ride. It's pretty simple. But the fact that Winnie the Pooh has two rides in China, it's kind of surprising, especially with like all the stories that you would go and hear. Like it kind of makes you wonder, how is it that Disney was able to get a pass on putting Winnie the Pooh on those parks, despite the infamous relationship that Xi Jinping has with Winnie the Pooh? it kind of, it kind of makes you wonder, especially when there is evidence that we have seen Bob Iger side by side with Xi Jinping. So it kind of makes you wonder. It's like what the fridge is going on in there. And I gotta say, it does make maybe one day, like I will look into this. Like I'll go into it, look like really deep into the whole relationship with Winnie the Pooh and China. I feel like there is like a really good idea for a video in there where like there's this video essay that you could talk about Winnie the Pooh and how the Chinese would view them and like all the different bands that are going on. Like there is a story here, it's worth checking in, just so as long as the Chinese government won't interfere or anything like that. But overall, though, this is one of those news that I feel like it's both surprising and not surprising at the same time, especially with the whole factor of Hong Kong. Like, yeah, it is a bit of a shocker that like this whole situation even happened in the first place, or that like Blood and Honey was able to go and reach at that point where it was prepared to be released like 2 days before it would even come out. Like it only got removed 2 days before its actual release. Like that is surprising that it even made it at that point, but it shouldn't even be surprising either, because of, well, we know how Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party feels about Winnie the Pooh. So I mean, of course, with a movie where Winnie the Pooh is a killer, they would not allow that in China. So yeah, it's kind of a strange story that is going on, but I feel like it's one that is interesting to go and talk about, especially with the whole theme of Winnie the Pooh's relationship with China. All right, so with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and now I want to ask you all, how do you feel about the whole Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey situation? How do you feel about the fact that it got pulled out of Hong Kong theaters just 2 days before its release? Let me know what you think on all this. Oh, and especially if you have seen Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, I would love to know your thoughts on this. Or also on the movie though. Anyways, now let's see what we have here. Honestly, good. Winnie the Pooh, more like Winnie the Poop. I was never interested in the movie to begin with because of its effing ridiculous premise and its effing gimmick. Now normally I would support indie films because I'm an indie filmmaker myself, but in this case, no thanks. That's all that this movie is, a gimmick. Hong Kong, you are not truly missing much. A lot of amazing people at Hong Kong, though. They deserve better. Absolutely. They definitely do. Let's see here. Personally, I haven't seen Blood and Honey myself, although I may have looked out, but regardless, I'm not that surprised that the movie was banned in Hong Kong, considering how nowadays China views Winnie the Pooh badly because of its resemblance to the Chinese leader, but it's just crazy. And I am still shocked that China hasn't done anything about removing the Winnie the Pooh attractions from Hong Kong Disneyland and Shanghai Disneyland. Seriously, it's so complicated. Exactly, it's complicated, but it's also very fascinating at the same time. Like, especially when you factor in the Disney parks elements, where apparently it seems to be this Winnie the Pooh, sanctuary compared to the rest of China. Like, how is it that Disney was able to sneak in Pooh onto their theme parks in China despite everything that's been going on with Xi Jinping and how the Chinese rebellion would go and use the iconography? Let's see what else we have here. Take it from someone who actually saw Blood and Honey. Yeah, Hong Kong is pretty lucky. Blood and Honey was ridiculously bad. Like, honestly, the worst film of 2023 so far. As for the reason why it was banned, it was probably the Xi Jinping thing. Oh my god, actually, you're onto something. I actually do like that phrasing, the Xi Jinping thing. Okay, anyways, but the moral of the story here is reject Blood and Honey, embrace eating toast and going fishing with the boys. Yeah, I guess, yeah, some people may say that maybe Hong Kong was lucky and maybe the Chinese government was actually protecting their audiences. So who knows? Maybe the film's quality could be a factor into it. Okay, anyways, what other comments do we have here? Disney hate is a dangerous thing. When when you base your product's entire raison d'etre around it, a vocal minority may talk about it for a short time, but unless it's a hit on the same level as Shrek, people will forget about it within a very short amount of time. Can't say I'm surprised the movie has been banned in a region that China thinks it controls, though. Screw Xi Jinping. China deserves to see bad movies too. Well, I mean, you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong on that, though. Like, honestly, like, regardless of the quality of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, I think it definitely is more important that, that the people of China can actually have their own independence, and that they can have their own rights, and that they can have their own freedom, you know? That they're not ball and chained to the commands of Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party. I mean, this thing, I mean, I know that what I'm doing here on my stream and it airing on China. I mean, what the fridge are they gonna do at me? Watch this. After my vacation, you're never gonna hear from me again. Anyways, what else do we have here? Any other comments? Just want to see. I've seen and I hate the movie. It has to be the worst movie I've seen this year, given how bad it was. I'm not getting it's not getting a release in Hong Kong. Not surprised that China did this over political reasons. But at the same time, they did Hong Kong a favor, since no one wants to see a bad movie like this to begin with. Although I gotta say, I just have to say that honestly, I've been planning this for a while, and eventually, I know that one day, this right here, regardless of how bad it may be, it needs to be an AniMat Watches. That, like, AniMat Watches, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey needs to be a thing at some point. Like, I know, like, it's just that I need to work around my schedule, and, you know, I gotta know when is there, like, a proper, like, home media release for it, but I know that I need to do it, man. I gotta go and watch it. I mean, the last time I did it was pretty crappy, too, with, what was it, Elf Bowling the movie? So, I don't care, man. I'm ready for Blood and Honey. I'll read one more comment before we go in, or two more comments before we go and jump into the next story. Let's see. Or three, whatever. Screw it. Honestly, I don't find it surprising that this stupid horror film would flop. It had it coming. Never mess with the iconic character. And to Xi Jinping, come on, his face looks nothing like Pooh. Pooh is beloved to all family alike and considered as iconic as Mickey Mouse himself. That guy is a face only a mother could love. And even at that, like, the mother could be like, yeah. I haven't seen the film, but I guess we could say that there's a piece of Winnie the Pooh media worse than Too Smart for Strangers. As for the censorship, this is really absurd. Trey Parker and Matt Stone said it best that their episode lampooning censorship of the Chinese government. I like Disney's more modern works, but the more corporate side is pandering in negative ways. Yeah, I think that that pretty much does summarize a lot of companies, but yeah, Disney, undeniably, I mean, like, the creative side of Disney is wonderful. The corporate side of things, yeah, it's a hot pile of garbage. Especially with today, I think, like, they actually announced that, or Bob Iger actually announced that they're gonna do, like, the first round of, like, major layoffs. So yeah, screw the corporate side of Disney. Anyways, one more comment here. China sure has a weird hatred towards a peaceful honey-loving bear. Putting that aside, considering how bad Blood and Honey was, it might have been a good thing that the movie wasn't shown in Hong Kong. If the Chinese government has something with the ban, however, it is rather horrifying to see how China tries over and over again to take over Hong Kong. Oh yeah, it definitely is undeniably frightening. And even to this day, seeing how things are going with Hong Kong and how it's slowly morphing into another Chinese region, it's just, it really is scary. But anyways, it is now time that we are going to go and take a break. And when we do return, well, the subject of politics and censorship will be continuing on. But instead of being related to Winnie the Pooh, it's actually going to be related to The Simpsons and yet another prediction that they have made. And we are back. I'm sorry, but I just realized apparently as I'm recording this, I just discovered apparently there's this like major breaking news going on that unfortunately it's a pretty depressing thing, but sadly it looks like another mass shooting has occurred in an elementary school in the US. Specifically apparently in Nashville, 3 children and 3 adults have sadly passed away because of a female shooter. I mean, for God's sakes, when is America gonna have the courage to actually go and put in some freaking common sense gun laws? Like, it's freaking ridiculous that this is still a thing that is happening. And it really does go to show that, like, these gun lobbyists, these Republicans who support, like, the Second Amendment or whatever, they don't freaking care about children. This is so freaking stupid. Like, honestly, it's just frustrating to see like news like this happening again and again and again when this can be easily avoidable, but you got a bunch of nutcases that are preventing this from happening and they're still allowing children to die. It's freaking ridiculous. But I'm sorry, this is not necessarily what we are talking about right now. What we are talking about is something a little bit more different. This is actually in regards to a prediction that The Simpsons has made once again. That I know it's been quite a trend that people would go and say that, oh, look at what The Simpsons has predicted. Oh, look what The Simpsons turned out. Look at this. Simpsons turned out to be right about this. Simpsons turned out to be right about that. Rather it be Donald Trump becoming president or that 20th Century Fox would be purchased by Disney and stuff like that. People always say that apparently The Simpsons would always know how to go and predict things. And apparently this seems to be another case, specifically in regards to Michelangelo's David. Now, specifically what I am talking about is actually a very early episode of The Simpsons. This is actually back in 1990, where there was one episode in particular where Marge was upset of the fact that apparently an or a special art exhibition was coming to Springfield, and the star of the show is the world famous statue of oh well, thank you Jay Monty for gifting that sub right there. But anyways, yeah, so Marge was upset of the fact that Michelangelo's David was coming to Springfield and pretty much formed an angry mob of the fact that the Michelangelo's David is coming because the fact that the statue is technically completely naked and full on anatomically correct, showing the male body part, if you will. In fact, there's actually one really good quote that my source here on Deadline, they actually stated that people ended up getting so upset at Springfield with Michelangelo's David coming, where one person said, "It's filth," a woman tells Marge. "It graphically portrays parts of the human body which practical as they may be, are evil." And they would go and try to conclude the episode by making a big compromise where Michelangelo's David would arrive to Springfield, but the statue would have to wear a pair of jeans. So that was the entire joke that they would go and do on this. But fast forwarding to several years later, in fact, fast forwarding to what happened a few days ago, when 3 parents, specifically just three parents in Florida, in the Leon County, they were upset of the fact that their 6th grader had to learn about Michelangelo's David, and that they would have to teach, that the teachers would have to go and teach about a statue that is naked and showing the, how could I put this? Actually, Robotic may have the answer for that they would show the pingus. So yeah, they really got mad, and the 3 parents would go and send their complaints, and ended up giving a lot of backlash to the school, specifically the Tallahassee Classical School. And it apparently got so heated that the principal was put in a position where she had to have no choice but to full on resign. And we also have a couple of quotes here, or to go more info into this entire situation. I would like to read from my source here on Deadline. in which it states, according to the Washington Post, the charter schools that they rely on Hillsdale's curriculum, specifically the conservative and Christian Hillsdale College in Michigan, their curriculum, are supposed to teach Renaissance art to sixth graders, which includes the Statue of David. But Barney Bishop III, the chair of the school board, told reporters that parents, two to be exact, complained that they were given no advance warning of the lesson. Another nitpicked about the teacher, calling it non-pornography. We have a practice, Bishop told Slate. Last year, the school sent out an advance notice about it. Parents should know. In class, students are going to see and hear and talk about this. This year, we didn't send out that notice. They would continue on by stating, we're not going to show the full Statue of David to kindergartners, Bishop continued with Slate. We're not going to show him to second graders. Showing the entire Statue of David is appropriate at some age. We're going to figure out when that is. And you don't have to show the whole statue. Maybe to kindergartners, we only show the head. You can appreciate that. You can show the hand, the arms, the muscles, the beautiful work Michelangelo did in marble without showing the whole thing. So that's pretty much the entire situation, where, again, three Karen-like people, apparently three Karen-like parents, got so mad of the fact that their sixth graders were learning about Michelangelo's David without them knowing, and ultimately this whole thing resulted in the resign of the school's principal. Now, the first thing that I just want to go and immediately address in this entire situation is that, considering the fact that this is supposed to be taught to sixth graders, that it's supposed to be the kids who are on their way to going to high school or middle school or whatever, that technically I think like when you're in the sixth grade, like you would be like, what, 11 or 12 years old, around that age? Yeah, I think at that point, I'm just going to say those sixth graders, they've already seen it. And I don't specifically mean about Michelangelo's David in its entirety, but I specifically mean about the part that is controversial, the pingus, if you will. They've already seen it. One way or another, of course, without the parents knowing. Like, maybe it would be through their friends, or maybe it would be through a video, or they would see, like, one way or another, they have seen it. So from Michelangelo's David, it's not like they've, it's nothing that they haven't seen before, and it's nothing really shocking that they have seen. So I can guarantee you that if those sixth graders have actually seen Michelangelo's David, they won't be reacting in shock. They won't be in complete disgust that it's not fully censored. Like, what you see is what you get. I'm sure they would be totally fine by it. And I mean, of course, it is mostly the parents who have this, like, idealistic picture of their child, that they are so pure, that they are so innocent. But I can guarantee you that for the most part, that it is, that much more likely than not, that, nah, they ain't perfect. And whatever that they're upset about with Michelangelo's David, they have already seen it. But in all seriousness, though, this really is a case that it's not necessarily something that is more related to The Simpsons. It's not the fact that, oh, look at that, The Simpsons predicted something that happened yet again. It's not really about The Simpsons. It's more about what is happening in Florida. Like, what is happening, like, not just in Florida, but in red states in general, with the way that Republican politicians are really going hard on trying to control children's education, to go and teach them what they learn, and especially with the way that they're trying to go and give parents a lot more power in children's education, which, I'm going to be honest with you all, is a lot more harmful and a lot more dangerous than what it may seem. Like, yeah, when you would just say it in words that, oh, why don't we give parents more control over what children would go and learn in school? It doesn't sound bad at first, but the more you do think about it, the more dangerous it becomes, especially when only a few can have a tremendous amount of power that could seriously affect the entire school system. Like, keep in mind, all of this that is happening in Tallahassee Classical, this is the result of the complaints of 3 parents. Just 3 parents are enough for one principal to go and lose their job. Now, I know that there are some people that would go and say that, oh, you know, maybe that it is more the school's fault, it is more the principal's fault for not giving them a heads up that that they are teaching about Michelangelo's David and stuff. And yeah, there can be that element, but still though, this should not happen. Like, parents should not go and have this amount of tremendous power. It's absolutely ridiculous. And not to mention the fact that you know that there are going to be those people out there who are going to exploit the crap out of those kinds of laws that Republicans want to go and put in, especially with like, considering that it is in Florida. A prominent example would be Ron DeSantis's Don't Say Gay bill. Like, you know, the ones who are going to be exploiting it the most are going to be those entitled Karens. Like, you know, the ones that the entitled Karens that have like a serious superiority complex, that they believe that they are superior than everyone else, and they throw a massive tantrum whenever things don't go their way. You know for a fact that those are going to be the parents that will be in complete control of the educational system. And if they're capable of doing that with Michelangelo's David, who knows what they can do? Like, this power can absolutely be exploited, and there could be a lot of things that parents can go and actually full-on censor from teaching to their kids. In fact, I'm going to say this right now, with the laws that Republicans would go and put in, they can full-on ban the teaching of Christianity in schools in general because of these types of complaints. I kid you not. Like, imagine there's a scenario where, oh, the kids are going to learn about the origins of the earth and how God created the entire land and everything, and how God created Adam and Eve. And then you're going to get one Karen-like parent that's going to be like, oh, don't show any of that. Don't talk about that to my child. There's too much nudity. Adam and Eve are all butt naked. I don't want my child to think about that. Don't you dare be teaching that to my kid. Or another example, the death of Jesus Christ. When Jesus was punished by the Romans and he was put up on the cross, you're going to get some angry parents that are going to be like, oh, don't you be teaching that to my child. That story is too depressing and it's too violent, and all the images show Jesus with blood, and my son, my boy, is just too sensitive to seeing any blood. Don't you dare be teaching that to my child. Or even just the cross itself, the iconography of Jesus Christ on the cross. That could be another one that parents could get upset about. Be like, oh, don't you dare be showing that. Jesus is showing way too much skin on the cross. Yeah, sure, maybe the private part is covered, but that's still too much skin that he's showing. You should either put an entire robe on him or don't show that at all. Don't you dare be showing that to my boy. And that's just a few examples of how parents could use those laws in order to ban education of Christianity in general. Now, I know that sounds like a crazy example. There are going to be some people out there that might go and tell me, oh, come on, AniMat, that is too stupid. People are not going to go and try to ban Christianity in schools and stuff like that. Oh, yeah? Okay. Let me prove you wrong. I could show you that this is legitimately the case. This is actually a news that happened just yesterday. And this is an article from The Insider, in which the article here says, parent thanks Utah for book banning law that makes it so much easier to challenge the sex-ridden Bible. Yes, there are legit some people out there that want to ban the Bible because of the exploitative nature, because, oh, it has too much sex, it has too much violence. And even going down into the bullet points, a Utah parent asked that the Bible be removed from a high school because of its sex-ridden nature. The state lawmaker who sponsored the bill said the request was a mockery of the law, and law banning certain kinds of books have plagued multiple states in recent years. So yeah, considering that there are Republicans that really want to go out of their way to go and actually ban a whole bunch of books, making sure don't teach kids anything that is woke, don't teach kids anything that is liberal or whatever. There are some people out there that are really going to go out of their way that because of their image of purity and stuff like that, that they legit want to ban the Bible. So in a way, yes, these laws can be possible to be exploited so that Christianity in general or religion can be full on banned in schools in the US thanks to those Republican laws. And it's honestly so ridiculous. And if anything, with this story right over here, it really does prove that when it comes to education, it should not be dictated by what parents want to go and teach their kids. Like, that shouldn't be what education is. Education should be about what kids need to learn in order to go through life. In order to go and have the right skills, in order to have the right knowledge, in order to go and make a living, to just be alive in general. They need to go, it really is about making sure that they understand things that are important in life. And sure, maybe there are some things that they are going to learn that would make liberals upset. But at the same time, there are things that they have to learn that would make conservatives upset. So yes, it is important that kids need to learn about things like critical race theory or whatever would be labeled as woke, or even elements that technically would be considered sex related, like proper sex education. Those are things that are important because they're a factor of life. There's nothing political, there's nothing controversial about it. It's just elements of life, and your politics and your opinion should not be what dictates what kids need to go and learn. It's honestly such a stupid concept. And again, it's a prominent example of the idea of giving parents full on control of what their kids should learn. Like, that right there, I gotta say, is an immediate setup for failure. Like, that's all it is. Like, this really is something that would just go and immediately set children up for massive failure, that they would go in and there are so many things that they won't be able to learn because their parents are too sensitive. Oh, don't you dare teach that to my child because that's woke. And from there, they're gonna end up what's gonna happen is that the parents are gonna be censoring so many things that the kids cannot learn because of their biases, because of their opinions and stuff like that, that the kid themselves will suffer, and they won't have a sufficient job in order to make a proper living, that they're gonna end up being screwed over, and they won't find any success because of the limitations that Republican politicians and that their strict parents would go, or just a handful of strict parents can go and immediately set. It's honestly, it's a thing that is extremely dangerous. That's why these bills, such as the Don't Say Gay bill, or what Republicans are doing to education, it is far more damaging to children than any drag show that's happening out there. And I just want to say this: if you've never been to an actual drag show, if you don't actually know a drag person, a person in drag, or if you don't know a drag performer, then honestly, you should not have a single opinion on the factor of drag shows. Okay, whatever opinion you have, it is thrown in the garbage. Whatever you say is full on null and void. I know people who are drag performers, and I've been to drag shows, so honestly, I should know how things are, and they are safe environments. There's no such thing as children being harmed in drag shows. There's no proof of it even. All it is just made up conspiracy theories made up by Republican politicians just so they can go and distract people from the real things that are causing harm. And if you want proof that these Republican people, they do not give a crap, then take a look at what's happening in Nashville right now. Take a look at what is going on in there with the mass shooting that has occurred, in which 3 kids in an elementary school, they have unfortunately died. Oh, there's nothing you can do about, there's nothing you can do about protecting kids from mass shootings, but you want to go out and ban trans people in drag shows? Eat a bag of freaking dicks, man. This is why we need to go and put regulations and limitations to nationalism. This is freaking ridiculous. This should have been easily solved where we ban all assault rifles and put in strict gun laws. It's a simple solution, but you got these delusional nutcases, these kinds of people who have the same mindset as those school shooters, that they don't want to do anything about it because they want their guns to thrive. It's ridiculous, man. This whole situation really is frustrating. And overall, like, again, this is not really about The Simpsons. It's not about The Simpsons predicting another thing that has happened in the real world. It's about red states like Florida, where things have gotten so bad in there that now they have become a parody of themselves, where we are seeing life imitating art because Republican politicians are setting things so backwards that now that they're just becoming an absolute joke, and now they're setting the future generation to become an absolute failure. And that's really the whole situation, because honestly, if you're really that upset that your 6th grade child is learning about Michelangelo's David, like if you're really mad about that because, oh, Michelangelo's David is showing his pee-pee, well, then at that point, maybe you shouldn't be a parent in the first place. So now with that out of the way, now that I did put in my piece onto this, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about this Simpsons quote-unquote prediction? How do you feel about the entire case? Let me know what you think on that. Let's see. Oh God, I heard about this from a friend, and honestly, this is stupid. These parents, and their obsession with Puritanism. Also, the principal is a woman too. Oh, they are going to roll with that by saying women in a high position of authority is bad. But yeah, David is a statue and part of art freaking history. And I heard Florida's curriculum tried to change American slavery of African people to involuntarily relocation. Conservatives won't care about listening to context. It's in red states especially. Like, this is exactly why you need critical race theory, because the thing is that they're too scared to say that bigotry is bad. You know, they know it's bad, but they don't want to go and, you know, encourage that in fear that, oh, don't say that hate speech, don't say racism is bad, because then they might turn out to be liberal. And this is also another reason why hate speech needs to be banned. Like those strict hate speech laws that are in Europe and stuff like that, America is in desperate need of it. Let's see what else we have. Not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting this. Although I learned about the Statue of David through a Family Guy joke of all things. This is pretty bonkers, especially since this is another Simpsons prediction. What's next? My college principal's real name is really Armin. It's crazy, but honestly, the only question about the Statue of David is, why is it bigger than mine? Oh, I don't know, man. That's more of a you problem right there. I mean, if you're gonna go into a measuring contest with a Renaissance art statue, I mean, be my guest, but that's on you. I ain't gonna be touching that thing. Oh, let's see. I think it really goes to show how these kinds of people have no idea what they are talking about. The fact that these kinds of parents are so triggered by this kind of stuff and how they won't allow this kind of education for their children is just flat out disgusting. Seriously, this is why we should never listen to Republican politicians and why these anti-woke nutcases need to get off this planet. Exactly, man. If you're all about protecting if these people really are about, oh, we need to protect the children, then why don't you go and actually make laws about freaking guns instead of drag shows? Because I don't think it's a drag person that's causing the shooting in Nashville. I'm just saying. Let's see now. Karens are absolutely absurd. The statue is a work of art, not propaganda. As the teacher said, it's not 18 plus. It may be uncomfortable to some, but as long as it's taught properly, everything should be fine. Also, where's the George Takei oh my sound bit on this show when you need it? Oh my god, that is a good idea. I should include that. A George Takei oh my. That is a good idea. I should take note of that when I get back on my vacation. Let's see now. Yet again, The Simpsons has predicted the future, but as you said, Matt, it's seriously concerning with the way that the educational system is being manipulated, that literally a few parents can restrict whatever their children can learn. Also, can we talk about how hypocritical these Republicans are? A lot of these people call themselves proud Christians or followers of God, but they do stuff like ban the Bible. I just can't get past how completely stupid that is. Well, that's honestly the thing, especially when it comes to fascism. Hypocrisy is not a problem. It's a main asset. It's a main feature. It's the fact that they can do things that others cannot do. Like, yeah, they would say it's wrong for them to do, but it's okay for them to actually go and do it. That's why you would see a lot of Republicans defend a lot of people who are actual child groomers that are in their base compared to when there's someone on the left who has been caught with child grooming. I think I'll read 2 more comments and then we're going to go to our final story. This is actually one of my favorite episodes of The Simpsons and one of the episodes I watched the most when I had my season 2 DVD box set. The episode has a great message about censorship and freedom of expression and also appreciating art. Once I heard about the news in real life, I immediately tell everyone that The Simpsons did it. This really shows that conservative a-hole parents really hate good art so much. They are so unintelligent that I'm thankful I'm not that stupid and love art. Well, that's the problem, man. It's just that they are uncultured. They're so caught up in their small little hate-filled bubble that they don't even know what art is. All right, I'll read one more comment before we move on to our final story. So, okay, I'll go into this. Out of all the states of America, I can't think of a more perfect one, well, perfect in a relative term, for the Simpsons prediction to come true than in Florida. Every day, every part of it that isn't in Disney World becomes more backwater. But the most ironic part of all this, despite DeSantis' efforts to turn Florida against Disney, Florida emulated something that happened in a Disney-owned IP, bearing the fact that The Simpsons are staying in Universal Orlando until 2028. Well, exactly. They're becoming Florida is unironically becoming a crazy Disney, a crazy episode from a Disney property. Oh, actually, I'll read one more, just quickly one more. Of course, this whole thing happened in Florida. Every single insane thing that just seems to happen is in there. These parents seem to have forgotten that nudity itself doesn't have to be sexual and that it has been used in countless of pieces of art before. And it's downright disgusting how so many people think that sex and nudity is somehow worse than murder and violence. If a few parents are allowed to bully a school into giving in to their demands, then something is terribly wrong with the educational system. Exactly. I'm just going to say the next generation of scholars and successful people, highly doubt that it's going to be in Florida. I mean, I do apologize that to like the residents of Florida in there, but the sooner you get out of there, the better your future will be. Or the sooner you get rid of those Republican politicians like Ron DeSantis and that it's going to be more of a blue state, then your future will guarantee to be better. All right, so we do have one more story to go and conclude, and it's going to be the big one because let's just say that we have an update in terms of one of the biggest animation news of the year. And now it is time that we shall go and conclude this episode off with the grand finale. And with this finale, like I said before, we are going to be going into a significant update into what is so far the biggest animation news story of the year. Because we have talked about several times about this individual, and we have seen how he was once one of the most I don't know, my stomach was not really coordinating there. He was once one of the most influential adult animation creators, but then suddenly the reports came out, and suddenly his entire reputation and his entire legacy just full on collapsed in itself. Especially with the serious charges that were against him. However, what happened a few days ago was honestly shocking. It was a news that nobody expected, and especially when maybe we may have a bit of a conclusion, but the more you think about it, nah, not really. And what I'm talking about specifically is actually in regards to the domestic abuse charges of Justin Roiland. Yes, believe it or not, all those charges of domestic violence that went against Justin Roiland, they ended up getting dismissed. Specifically, the Orange County District Attorney's Office actually dismissed the charges, to which they go and state, reading from my source here on Variety, that we have dismissed the charges today as a result of having insufficient evidence to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And at that point, I just want to go and state right now, we do not have any of the details of what those evidence are, and we don't really have any details on what the evidence the ex-girlfriend should have in order to go and actually prove that she was domestically abused by Justin Roiland. So we don't necessarily have any of those details, but what we do know that in terms of the case is that it has been dismissed. And immediately, right on the moment that the dismissal update occurred, Justin Roiland went and put out this message on social media, to which I will read you directly from my source on his Twitter account, to which it states here, "I have always known that these claims were false, and I never had any doubt that this day would come. I'm thankful that this case has been dismissed, but at the same time, I'm still deeply shaken by the horrible lies that were reported about me during the process. Most of all, I'm disappointed that so many people were so quick to judge without knowing the facts based solely on the word of an embittered ex trying to bypass due process and have me canceled. That it may have succeeded even partially is shameful. However, now that the legal case has ended, I'm determined to move forward and focus on both on my creative projects and restoring my good name." So that's basically the entire situation that we have gotten so far. So, by the way, just to give you a bit of a heads up, for those of you who don't know, you may remember back earlier this year in January, where Justin Roiland was charged with domestic violence. And from there was, and by the way, actually, there was supposed to be a court hearing about this that would happen in late April, but I guess with the dismissal, I guess the whole thing was canceled from there. And from there though, immediately the whole kingdom of Justin Roiland just collapsed. The charges were the reason why he ended up getting fired from everywhere he worked. He was fired from Adult Swim. He was fired from Hulu. The companies also revealed that they are going to hire someone else to do the voices instead of Justin. And he resigned from his own video game company. And on top of that, there have been other allegations that did surface as well. But I guess with this dismissal, Justin Roiland couldn't be happier. And I guess with the statement that he made, that not only is he happy that, like, pretty much saying that it's finally over, but he's also putting shame at anyone who even contributed to the hate on Justin Roiland. Now, one thing that I just want to go and make a big clarification is that I know I am no lawyer, but what I do know is that technically, when a case is dismissed, that doesn't necessarily mean that the whole court case is over. There is a strong possibility that the ex could go and try it again. She could go and file for a mistrial. She could go and file for an appeal. Like, honestly, that initial charge, like, that's just round one so far. That doesn't necessarily mean what she is doing is, that doesn't mean that, like, when it's dismissed, it's pretty much over. Like, maybe it would, something significant would occur if it was dismissed with prejudice, but that is not the case. The ex so far does have an option to go and try again. So technically, it's not really over. But I will say this, though. Like, let's say there is let's say in this case that apparently Justin Roiland was right, that he was not a domestic abuser, and that the ex would go and, she would not go and pursue again to try to sue him. His name is pretty much cleared on that front. Okay, you know what? Good on Justin Roiland. He's able to clear his name. The worst that people would assume of him is actually false. And the previous comments that I made about that, I'll go and completely take it back. No problem. But yet, though, that doesn't mean that Justin Roiland is immediately uncanceled. That doesn't mean that everything wrong with Justin Roiland is officially done and that we can go back to praising him as the creator of Rick and Morty. No. That's not what's happening. Because there's still a lot more really serious allegations beyond the domestic abuse charges that need to be cleared up. Like, number one, so you managed to clear the charges. That's good. But now can you clear what people say about you in terms of the texts? Because for those of you who don't know, during the time when Justin Roiland was charged with domestic abuse, there have been a whole bunch of texts that have been exposed in which Justin Roiland would go and he would chat with a whole bunch of different people. That he would go and chat with, especially girls, that he would go and chat with them and really make some creepy texts. Like, some examples of what he would go and talk to some girls about is that, oh yeah, sure, but yeah, I can help you get into the animation industry, but maybe you could do some favors for me though, you know what I'm saying? Or like another one would be like, hey, you know, you're hot. How about you and me, you know, you could join me and my girlfriend and we could go and have a threesome. Or another one is like, he would just go and text hi and the girl would say hi and then suddenly like, hey, can you go and have a tattoo of Rick and Morty on your boob and send me a picture of you licking your boob with the Rick and Morty tattoo? Like, there's all of those going on. Of course, all of these are alleged, but still though, these are some pretty serious allegations. Not to mention that, according to rumors, some of those girls are underage. Like, Justin Roiland would be around his 40s, or is around his 40s, and he would be texting underage girls those kinds of nasty things. So that is another one that he really needs to go and clear out, because from the sounds of it, Justin Roiland could be like a next-gen John K, and nobody wants another John K in the animation industry. So that's probably another thing that he needs to go and clear out and address, if those are actually true or not. Because, like, yeah, Justin Roiland is being cocky about like, oh, shame on you for trying to cancel me and spreading those lies. Well, if all the negative things against you are actually lies, then can you actually prove if any of these texts are actually not true? Because if they are true, then you still have a very serious problem. And if not that, there's also another very serious issue that he needs to address, and that is regarding what's been exposed in this article. You may remember this article. I did talk about it in the podcast in the past, called Inside the Implosion of Justin Roiland's Animation Empire. This was written by Lacey Rose and Kate Kilkenny for The Hollywood Reporter. And in this article, they would go and talk about, they would go and discuss with so many animators and so many people who have worked with Justin Roiland, and some of them are currently working on Justin Roiland shows like Rick and Morty, Solar Opposites, and even Koala Man. And they would tell them that Justin Roiland is nothing but a lazy and childish slob. That this guy had never worked on any of the creative aspects of his shows ever since like the inception of them. Like, yeah, maybe Justin Roiland was involved in like the first and maybe second season of Rick and Morty, but following afterwards, that is pretty much it. The most that he would do is just voiceover work, and even at that, he would only do it at home and not even bother going into the office or going into the recording studio to actually go and do his lines. If he would be at the office, he would just be goofing around, or he would give celebrity like tours. Like, he really is just living off of his name alone. Like, his job is to just hold the title of being one of the creators of Rick and Morty, and that's pretty much it. And I would even say that, yeah, maybe the charges were the reason why he ended up getting fired from Adult Swim and Hulu, but what's been exposed here, that is the final nail on Justin Roiland's career's coffin. This is the one that is so far the thing that is preventing him from ever coming back to the entertainment industry. Because, okay, if you uncancel Justin Roiland and bring him back, then, like, what is he going to do? Because he's pretty much been exposed that he is a lazy slob, that he does nothing creatively for his shows. So, like, what would be the benefits of bringing him back? I would even argue that when when the announcement of the charges were made, that Adult Swim and Hulu, they were relieved to hear that, because finally, now they got a reason to actually get rid of him. You know, they have a reason that they no longer have to go and keep him on the payroll. There's no point of it. There is no use, because Justin Roiland is doing pretty much nothing to go and contribute to his actual shows. And he hasn't even done so for years. And I believe that, above everything, is something that he needs to prove. He has to prove that he can take his job seriously, that he can go and actually make good content, and that he can contribute as a writer, and that even if things are taken a little more seriously, even if things may not go his way, that he'll still go and contribute, that he could still be a team player. But if he cannot prove that, his career is over. It is pretty much done. It doesn't matter about anything else. Because yes, being a selfish dickbag with no sense of empathy and is difficult to work with, that is enough of a valid reason to just fully get rid of you. It is enough of a reason to cancel you, to ruin your entire career. And as long as you maintain that attitude, it is enough to just full on ruin your life. You know, we're no longer in the age of like Stanley Kubrick or John Christopher Lucy or whatever, where you could just look past that because, oh, but he's a very talented person, we can go and actually keep him on board. No, like, it is essential that you have to be a nice person, that you have to be empathetic, that you are a team player, because without it, well, then you're practically worthless. And that's exactly what Justin Roiland's position is right now. That, okay, it's a good thing that, okay, the charges were dismissed, but now he has a massive, long way to go in order to fully redeem himself, because this is, I know that many people have said this already, but this is just a fraction of having his reputation be redeemed. Now he needs to go and prove everything else, that he can be a team player. You know, if all of these are lies, then he has to go and prove that these creepy texts that he would go and send to girls, that they're all made up, that all those girls are lying. He would have to go and try to prove that. Or that he would have to prove that what those animators say about him, they're flat out wrong, that they are lying, and that he is a hard worker in his shows. And if he's incapable of proving that, then Justin Roiland is not coming back, no matter what he says. So that's honestly my position on all this. Yeah, I am very surprised to hear that the charges were actually dismissed, but that doesn't mean that all is forgiven. That doesn't mean that, okay, let's put Justin Roiland back in his top position as a beloved creator and stuff like that. No. He still has a massive, long way to go. And in lack of a better term, he is still canceled until all of those bad things can be proven to be wrong, that the texts are, the texts are fake, and that he is a hard worker, and that he is a nice person in real life. Because let's be honest, nobody likes a selfish dickbag, and selfish dickbags deserve to be canceled, regardless if they have done anything that is criminal or not. So that's honestly my piece on the entire situation. And now I would like to go into the chat wall and ask you all, how do you feel about the entire Justin Roiland update? How do you feel about the fact that the case is dismissed? Let me know what you think on all this. Let's see what we have here. This is something I never expected to happen. However, despite the charges being dropped, it still doesn't change the fact that both Adult Swim and Hulu decided to distance themselves from him, and I highly doubt anyone would want to hire him for anything. So regardless, his career is over. Also, I have to ask, with recent events, which is worse, this or the recent Jonathan Majors controversy? Oh, I would say undeniably the Jonathan Majors controversy, like no doubt about it. Especially with the fact that so far, Jonathan Majors, in a way, he is now in a position that Justin Roiland used to be in. So honestly, we will have to wait and see with what happens if he can actually prove that he is innocent. But yeah, things are looking really bad. And I'm sure Marvel is in full on panic mode with the situation, considering that he's supposed to be the saga's next big villain. You know, he's supposed to be the next Thanos with Kang. Let's see what else we got here. I'll be honest, I'm scared. Abuse claims are already often dismissed by law enforcement because the abuse victim has second thoughts about charging their abuser. See, every true crime story involving people being killed by their abusive partner. Victims often drop charges out of fear and feelings for their partner, though seeing that she is an ex, it's fear most likely. The anti-woke mob look at this and Amber Heard as to say that these false accusations are more common and don't believe women. Well, that's the thing. I mean, like, okay, even if they are dismissed, but as I was saying, that's not going to change the public opinion of Justin Roiland. Yeah, sure, he'll have his small supporters, but considering that almost everyone in the industry absolutely hates the guy and views him as a worthless slob, he's not going to be coming back. We're not going to see like a renaissance of Justin Roiland and his career suddenly returning back up. In fact, there are many people, including Dan Harmon himself, would actually say that despite being surprised of the charges, they would often say that what happened to Justin Roiland, it's karma. It's something that he had it coming. So I don't think there's going to be a way for Justin to like climb back up from there. Like, he has peaked in his life, and the rest is just going to be downhill. Let's see what else we have here. And here I was thinking that the famous white guy would face consequences. Silly me. Whatever Justin Roiland does with going forward, his name has been dragged through the mud to the point that I don't think anyone would hire them again. Is what I would say if Adult Swim were owned by WB. And we all know that they just love to keep their absolute worst kinds of people. And speaking of, I hope Disney handles the Jonathan Majors situation better than Warner Brothers Discovery did with any of theirs. Well, I wouldn't say so, because the thing is, unlike Ezra Miller, whom WBD had kept throughout throughout all of their controversies, with Justin Roiland, he was kicked out. He was fired. I don't see a situation where Warner Brothers Discovery would suddenly say, "Hey, let's bring back Justin Roiland. Let's see what happens with that." Nah, I don't think so. Like, that would be stupid, and like maybe it would, but I say it's highly unlikely. Let's see. If Justin thinks he has gotten away from his crimes and can return to his shows, he is dead wrong. He has still committed a lot of wrongs and is still blacklisted from working with Adult Swim, Hulu, and pretty much anywhere else ever again. At this point, his career is already over. Yeah, at this point, like, I've already seen people making jokes that the only way that he would return or like bring his career back would be working on a major conservative outlet. Like, the only place that would hire him now would be the Daily Wire, and that's it. Which honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that would occur. Let's see. I'll read two more comments and then we're gonna cap this off here. Even when Justin Roiland is cleared of all charges, that doesn't mean that he's immediately beloved again. It's pretty unexpected that he's managed to clear the wrongdoing that fast, but then again, it's too late for him to save his reputation and just being the next gen John K, and his career is full on over. There's nothing for him to recover, and it's for the best that he needs to go. We don't need another troublesome individual in the animation industry. Yeah, man, I mean, there could be a tiny chance that maybe he could prove all the other allegations are wrong, but at this point, it's highly unlikely. You know, there's no way a selfish douchebag like him can just suddenly come back. I mean, like, even John K, with all the horrible things that he has done, we have still yet to see a full-on comeback of John K. And even at that, like, when you see something like Cans Without Labels, like, everything he does nowadays is just freaking cringe. Anyways, I can't believe he's in the clear. Like, I had a hunch he was not a good guy to begin with, but I never thought he was both a predator and also lazy, I might add. I may even add that I found a replacement on YouTube on the name Morty Says. outside of that, what does it mean for everyone else? Are they in trouble? More making those comments to begin with, or will Justin really come back? Really be coming back to court after more evidence is found? You know, honestly, I don't think, like, the people who commented against Justin Roiland, like, they have remained anonymous. So I think so far, as long as their identity is kept hidden, they're in the clear. But with Justin Roiland, but I think honestly, with what you have mentioned, I think the latter is going to most likely happen. Like, there is a chance that maybe the charges may not occur again, but I don't know. I feel like, honestly, there is still that chance that he will be back in court, but ultimately we will have to wait and see. But for now, technically, we cannot really call him a domestic abuser, but still a worthless individual, may I say. And with that said, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. I would like to go and say thank you all so much for joining me on this. And also, don't forget to go and subscribe to both my Twitch channel, AniMat Live, and the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel. As well, don't forget to go and follow me to whatever podcast service you're listening to, rather it be on Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, iTunes, and many, many more. So with all that said, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And don't forget, there is no episode next week because, well, believe it or not, ironic considering what we have recently talked about, but I'm going to Disney World. So with all that said, see you later, dudes.